2.
Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on July 30th, 2024 at approximately 4:30 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I build myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I use to guide virtually every move I make. Now, with this in mind, I know these tools will work for you, as they continue to work for me and have worked for literally thousands of other people over the years, with varying degrees of success, depending on their own personal efforts. Renee Andrews, how you doing? You are in with the goal today. And how's it going, LA Moon? Glad you're feeling better and looking forward to making certain that you're feeling better for a lot more years. But we're going to have to wait to get that sorted out for a couple of weeks yet. It really is, from my standpoint, it's really hard to believe. After 10 years, we're finally getting to physically reconnect, or approximately. The reality of it is, I've been looking at this whole thing of the effect of ritual on society. And something dawned on me just literally about 10 minutes ago. Okay. And that is, when you're looking at ritual, when you're looking at prayer is a usual ritual if you're in a mainstream religion. Oh, not a problem there at all, LA. We missed having you there, but the reality is health has to come first. Okay. And, that's why we focused on that. Joe, you are in. Mr. Flipping in. You are in with the silver, Joe Stewart. Hopefully things are going well on that end. The reality of it is this. When you look at ritual in mainstream religion, whether you are dealing with Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, doesn't matter. Okay. Most of you end up in some form of prayer ritual. Okay. Now, to be clear, ritual is what is used when we're talking about the religious side of things, that sort of it. Routine is another word for the same thing if you're not referring to religion. Okay, now here's the thing. You've got ritual, which is done with the churches, with the temples, with the covens. You've got routine, which is done in the normal run of things. Rachel Andrews, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I trust things are keeping busy on your end. Now, something dawned on me literally about 10 minutes ago. There is a third stream of ritual that I completely overlooked. And to be clear, the reason I've ended up overlooking it is because of the fact I've got little use for it. I use the computer because it happens to be modern tech. That's how communication is. Years ago, I used to go down in person, and I kid you not, I would sit on a little hillock outside of just above a skateboard park. Now, when I started going there, you had a great big park. In the bowl, you had the skateboarders. And at the other end on the ramps, you had the bikers and the scooter riders. Okay, when I first got there, if anybody crossed the middle line, there was a physical fight. Okay, now I'd go and I'd sit on the little hillock above them and the bowl. When I first got there, that's the way it was. Now, I started talking to people periodically because of the fact I was already gray. And we're talking a decade back now. I was already gray. Okay, but my hair came down past my elbows. And I'd start talking to them. And one of the first real impacts I ran into, was one of the kids took a tumble. Okay, and he cut himself pretty bad. Now, 10 years ago, every child and a dog did not have a cell phone. So, of course, he cut himself really badly. And he was bleeding, I mean, it wasn't anything serious, didn't require stitches. But people are running around because they were panicking, a little bit of blood. And I just walked over to the bunch. I see her, let me take a look at that, guys. I said, look, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to touch. I'm not going to physically touch it, but let's take a look at that wound. I don't think it's quite that bad. Right, everybody, somebody find a cell phone. We got to get a hold. We got to call the ambulance. So I held my hand literally about that far, about 6 inches above the guy's leg. Right, and everybody's looking at me going, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" I said, "I'm just stopping the bleeding." And I held my hand above it. And the one kid that was bleeding, he looks at me and goes, "But that's impossible. Wait a minute. It stopped bleeding. Why?" So I explained the basics of psychocellular kinesis. Next thing I know, I'm sitting I was always going out to the park and watching. And I ended up talking to these kids. Okay. And then when I say kids, at one point I ended up with about 40 or 50 people sitting around the bottom of the hillock, right? Partway up it and around the bottom of it, just listening to the same thing I'm doing with you guys, talking about what this world requires, what this world is capable of. Now, I'll tell you, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it, and I've got kids from 8 to 80 that are literally sitting there listening, much like you guys are doing. I have no idea how old you guys are, but I was sitting there going, okay, this is way too flaming familiar. I've done this before. I have multiple lifetimes had people gathering around where I was saying, look, we got to get along. Well, the newest ritual that just dawned on me 10 minutes ago, okay, is something that I've just been informed, and pardon me if I pronounce it wrong, but oh well, I got over it, is technocracy. Ultimately, people dang near worship technology. Okay, I don't worship it. I look at it going, it's a tool. Of course, sadly, I look at a lot of people like that too. But I took a look at that, and people get up. What's the first thing most people do when they get up in the morning? They get up and go and check their email, or they check their social media. Okay, or they get up, they stagger into the living room, maybe get a coffee, turn on the TV to listen to the news. Now, I don't know about you, but I can't think of a more depressing way to start the day. So what do? I get up first thing in the morning. Whoop, that didn't work. I get up first thing in the morning, and I start my list of what I'm going to get done. Okay, what I got here? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Today I took it kind of easy. I've only got 16 things on my list done. Okay. Yeah, LA Moon goes, I look at tech. Now, what the AG double hockey sticks is this. Modern tech is designed to make life easier. Now, I'll tell you, just take going to a hotel, for instance. When I was growing up, my parents when I was young adult, my parents ran a motel, just a little one. But if you went to make a reservation, if you phoned them, they'd pick up the phone, they'd get your name, what day would you like? They'd flip a couple of pages, 5 minutes max. The room was booked. How long in modern tech does it take you to actually book a hotel room? Okay, by utilizing a computer. Now, when people turn and worship ultimately technology, what you're doing is turning the whole 9 yards over to somebody else. Okay, I'm going to rely on tech because it's quicker, it's easier, it's faster. Power company in my area. Okay, about 15 years ago, it was bought out, but they used to have a sign over their desk. to err is human. To really foul things up requires a computer. Now, people have been taught, you guys have been taught, and I don't blame your teachers or your parents. Okay, frankly, Nathan, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Oh, it's Tuesday, and this is Wednesday, I think. No, this is Tuesday. But with Nathan, on Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific, turn around and drop in, give him a listen. Okay, he's got the Quantum Show. You drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, give him a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of the thing. And I still got to find time to talk to you, Nathan. I got a project for you. Because you're the only builder I know of right now. And there's probably others of you out there. Doesn't matter. I've known you longer. Okay. But in a nutshell, I'm going to get you to build me a church. Of course, I only want a church that's about 8 inches tall. Okay. Uh-oh. Nathan goes, I did my non-human report recently. Yeah, I got to do one of those in a couple of days. But, I get up, I put my list together right off the bat, and I start working on it. Okay. If I've got a power failure, I just have to open the blind so I can see a little bit. Okay. This is the thing about power. Okay. When you take a look, I'm referring to modern tech, when you're relying on technology to do everything. I've got a computer, and I've got my computer here. I've got my cell phone here. I've got, pen and paper here. Now, granted, my mind is not working as well as I'd like. So I do have pen and paper. But here's the tech I like. A solar-powered calculator. Now, I tell you, I haven't replaced the battery in this thing in 20, 25 years, if that. Yeah, Joe goes, when I wake up first thing in the morning, I usually write in my dream journal. But I had a dream last night. Last night. Didn't write it down. Take the time as you can, Joe, to just write. Even if all you remember is that you were dreaming, write it down. Okay, even now, because it will still help with your journal. Now, I've shown you, I don't do a dream journal per se, but then most of the time I come out of dreams so fast I don't remember what they were. But I definitely am keeping a journal. And the reality of it is I track a lot of things. Now, I have come to the conclusion that when we start looking at spirituality and rituals and modern society, understand, if the massive majority of you are waking up in the morning, turning on the TV to listen to the news or your computer or whatever you're using, and you're either doing that or you're going through your social media, which is permeated with negativity, is it any wonder that society has taken a turn for the negative? Is it any wonder at all? Now, I've been called a lot of things over the years. Okay. Even my own brother told me one day, I had 2 comments, and I don't talk about other people. Okay, not much. But these were directed at me and I've told other people anyway. My older brother told me when I was only about 14 years old, turned around. Now, bear in mind, I was diagnosed mentally retarded. Okay. My older brother told me, nothing you ever do will ever amount to anything. Okay. Boy, did that hit hard. My little brother turns around and tells me, Keith, I don't think you're crazy, but the way you talk makes it sound like you're crazy. Well, I got news for you. From what I figured out, I'm betting dollars to donuts they both see me the same way. You get to figure out if I'm off my nut. Whatever you're doing on a regular basis, This is what you're feeding into your world. And for those of you that are pleasantly sitting there going, God's going to sort it out, that's called passing the buck. You were given free will, free choice. If you're waiting for him to straighten it out, good luck. Okay, now don't get me wrong. I'm very much a firm believer in God and in Christ. Okay, I absolutely believe in treating people the way I desire to be treated. And yes, I play with sharp, pointy objects. Okay, I don't know, maybe, some people say, oh, you do that because you're OCD. Maybe I am. Doctor gave me a clean bill of health. Oh, no, well, give me a totally clean bill of health. Told me I'm not ADD, not ADHD. I don't have a thyroid or adrenal problem. But this is relying on something that a licensed, honors practicing professional has said. And Nathan goes, God sorted it out by giving me the faculties to make it happen. Exactly. Okay. Every one of you has that same capacity. Oh, absolutely. LA is going, family can be more scathing than anyone else. Now, I will tell you, as I've mentioned, I see this stream here in an odd sort of way as a chosen family. Okay, I chose to open the door. You guys have asked for me not to close it. And yet I still see people coming through here that, and it's somebody's going to take offense to this. And I'd apologize except for one little detail. I keep telling you, if I say something that doesn't apply to you, don't take it on. Okay. Now, I cannot do anything about the way you take it on. But when I see somebody that I have seen come through here, okay, turn around and do something absolutely stupid, as in they know better and do it anyway, okay, and then claim to be following the karmic laws, I'll tell you right now, they're not. Karmic laws are easy. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. Okay. Now, take a look at all the guidelines that you work with. If you find one that doesn't fit inside those three, please let me know, because I'm still looking for those. But what the majority of people are doing, this is the ritual in today's world that is going to affect society. If you buy into all this garbage that's being spewed on the internet, on major news lines, on major media cycles, if you buy into the negativity and that's what you're burying yourself in, is it any wonder you're having trouble? Now, in my case, I have a little bit of a problem, because every time you guys pull a really dense maneuver like that, I listen to a post to a live feed, and now you tell me what's wrong with this. The individual said, look, I've got this neat little tech, guaranteed. I always worry about that. Guaranteed, you can make $1,000 a day. This means you can make $7,000 a week. Which means, and I'm paraphrasing, which means you can make $27,000 a month. Right there. Now, does anybody see the problem with this particular mathematical progression? Okay, because I'll tell you, it hit me like bang. Okay, this is what you people are worshiping. Now, there is a saying with computers, and my brother, he breathed computerese, put it this way: garbage in, garbage out. So, with that particular algorithm, and I goes, the guy's math sucks. Would you believe me if I told you this guy is touted as one of the most brilliant people on the planet? Now, I took a look at that and went, okay, if your math is that bad on basic math, how good can it be at the top of the deck? When you get into the complex stuff. This is why when I look at people that are making comments like that, like I listened to another absolutely brilliant man, absolutely brilliant among humans. He was considered one of the brightest minds of the century until about 15 years ago when he died. But he made a real brilliant comment. Relying on computers and all this other stuff to calculate it, he turns around and goes, all aliens are evil. Okay. Now, I've met a number of them. You can call me nuts if you'd like. I got no problem with it. I call myself nuts half the time. The reality of it is this. Take the brightest minds in the world and listen. Because if they're that bright, now I am not bright. I quite often sit here going, is my mind completely shot? But every psychiatrist I've talked to has said the same thing. If you're asking, are you losing your mind, which I've asked for a lot of years, every one of them has told me the same thing. If you're asking, are you losing your mind? The answer is no. Because if you were losing your mind, you wouldn't question it. Okay. Now, when we take a look at ritual, when I was growing up, now get this. Ritual was you got up in the morning, you gathered around the breakfast table, you had breakfast, you talked about what was coming up, you connected. Okay. And then you went about the day and you reconnected at supper. Okay. This quit happening some 30 years ago. Now, that ritual went out the window, and look at the family units. Okay, the family support system is an absolute shambles because that particular little routine where people actually talk to each other. I literally sat in a restaurant where people all at the same table will sit there on their cell phones. Okay, there's a problem here. A very big problem. What it would be wise to look at, talk to the seniors, find out what kind of routines they used to have. Okay. Now, I've made my own mistakes with my own kids, so I am not above you guys. Okay. But I will tell you, if you continue remaining separated from the people in your family, in your friendship circle, in your community, if you maintain that distance, society will do what it always has done. If you stay on that path, society will buckle. You don't believe me? That's no problem. I should be dead before it happens anyway, with a little bit of luck. Okay, somebody mentioned to me the other day, they came to me and said, look, the news is saying we're going to be in a world war by the end of within the next 4 months. I looked at him, I held my hand up and said, stop right there. The last 20 years, world war before the end of the current year, not this one, but over the last 20 years, every time I turned around, media came out and said, we're going to war. Every year for the last 20 years. Okay, we are not in a global war. Unless you want to call it the war again, the war of technology. Okay, the rituals you have on a regular basis are what are going to drive your life. Okay, now, I turned around and I didn't get to it today, as a matter of fact. Should do that. Because it really is time to take the matter into my own hands. By the way, that one company that I mentioned that has been trying to coerce me into, reconnecting with them on the advertising side. I think I finally got through to them because they called today and they went, "Look, you're not getting the picture. I don't have any money. It doesn't matter what you do. I've spent thousands. Nothing's happened." Okay, but on the other hand, I got a call just today from somebody I know asking if I'm accepting new clients for consulting. Okay, and yes, I bill myself as a spiritual guide. Okay, but people quite often call me psychic. except one cop in particular that actually called me psychotic. Which, by the way, I'm not. But, where am I here? This being said, because I've got to do something about an income for obvious reasons, but I am going back into the consulting field. And if you go to the top of this live stream, you'll find a Buy Me a Coffee link. On there, you can connect with me without any problem. And the short answer is a staggering 37 years of consulting experience. And you're watching all of this happen. I only charge $20 every 15 minutes. $20 Canadian, by the way, which means $80 an hour. I've been paid $2,600 plus per hour. But you guys can't afford that anyway. When you take a look at your rituals, absolutely. Now, we've got this massive conglomeration of different religions. And lots of you go there and you pray. Or you'll sit in your own room and you'll pray. Whether you're now, some people say you got to get higher, that you've got to get up to a greater altitude to reach God a little easier. Some people go, you got to bow down on the ground and you got to get down on your hands and knees. Either one is up to you. But if you believe in a higher power, okay, understand it permeates everything. Whether you're standing up on a shelf, standing up straight, sitting down, laying down prone on the ground, doesn't matter. Okay, you're just as close. Now, I will tell you, you'd have sworn that I was praying to the bottle for a while because I was an alcoholic. Okay, and you've heard the term praying to the porcelain pony. Most of you, especially if you're in your 20s or 30s, most of you probably have done that once or twice. Okay, but ritual plays a very big role in what goes on in life. Do you realize that the number of ads that pop up and go, oh, here's this newfangled piece of junk? It's the same thing you've been buying for years, but we put a new colorful wrapper on it, change the picture. Okay, and this is usually an occurrence with either pop or your junk foods. Basically the saying goes, same junk, brand new package. And yet, people turn around. There we go. Joe goes, I got the dream written down in Dream Journal 4 of what I could possibly remember. I won't make that mistake. I won't make that mistake again. I will absolutely grant you, Joe, you will absolutely do your best not to. I lay odds you'll slip up again. Lord knows I have. And rest assured, I'm no better than a single one of you. Okay? I'm no better than all of you, really. I've got my hiccups. I've got my outlook. Obviously, my mouth goes into hyperdrive on occasion. When we're looking at, you take a look at the new world order. Well, let's get the new world order in place. Guess what? Here's your new world order for you. Here's your chipping for you. Everybody's got one of these. Everybody's got these apps. Oh, don't go to the store. Just order online. You can sit on your backside. Oh, we got tools that you can get. You can sit on your backside. You can push a few buttons. You can drop weight and become a millionaire. Okay, now, of the literally millions of people out there buying into this garbage, how many have become millionaires? Realistically. Lord knows, maybe that's the problem. I didn't buy into any of it. Of course, I look at things like this issue of the math problem. Somebody said something, I'll look at it. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know. That whole, that great gaping crater shows up and goes, wait a minute, that doesn't add up. Okay, like, here's another one for you. Medication. When you take a look at medication, now understand, I'm 100% behind the pharmacies coming up and going, here's the new medication we claim and that we put together. But here's why I'm 100% behind them. Okay, we'll get to sport hunting in a second, which again is a ritual. But with the pharmacies, what they do is they come up with a concoction. Okay, and they go, here's this little thing it does to help you. And here's a stack 1.5 miles deep of what it'll do to kill you. Please buy our medication. Everybody takes a look at it. Okay, and here's a neat little trick to marketing. What they do is they go at the beginning, here's the thing it does to help you. Then they give you a whole list of things it'll do to kill you. And tell you, if they're being honest, it'll do it. Right? And then you go out and buy it. And here's why you go buy it. People remember the first thing and the last thing that's said. The middle usually gets brushed over. So you rush out, you buy this new thing, and, does it work? In my case, I was asked to get on diet pills. I tried it. Good idea. Was on it for 3 days. My heart stopped. I figured, okay, true. Your heart stops, you'll drop weight. Okay. Now, here's this neat little ritual. And do understand I've got nothing at all against guns. Everybody, if you want to have a gun, go out and have one. But let me explain something. When I say I'm 100% behind sport hunting, I like animals better than I like most people, to be frank. But here's the kicker to it. When you're going out and you're showing your kids how to become a man, it's coming of age thing. It's been done for centuries. Okay. But, the reason I'm behind it is this. You want to become a man or you want to become a sports person, I'm going out to kill something because that makes me better. Go ahead. I won't go out and kill something because, well, frankly, I get lost. Real easy. But here's the thing. You want to kill a bear and hang the head on the wall and leave the rest of the carcass in the woods. I don't care. Go ahead. The animals need to eat anyway. But here's the kicker. You want to bring down a bear. Here's a little bit of football armor because admittedly, they got a lot more fat on them, hopefully, than you do. And here's a spike club. Now, if you can kill them with that spike club, do what you will. Okay. If you're going hunting your wildcats, cheetahs, okay, no problem. Give me a motorcycle. That way you can catch up to them. But you only get a knife. No guns. Guns are not used for sport hunting. They are used for survival hunting or for feeding your family. And everybody should be entitled to feed their family. Okay? But the ritual we've got is you got a bunch of people that are running companies, communities, countries that are, quite frankly, they're beyond the age of worrying about it. Okay, now, you go way back in history, and the ritual way of doing things was this. Leaders of countries were in their 30s to 40s. Okay, the ones around the world that are being elected now and placed in positions of power are in their 60s and 70s. Okay, this is why this is why we've got a problem. And it's this ritual of constantly going and saying, this is the person I'm voting to put in there. Okay, it's just a recommendation. It's one I'm following myself. And again, this is literally, I do believe in many of the systems. They are built right. Where it comes to the upcoming elections, find a candidate that seems like he's got a brain, he or she. I don't care whether it's male or female. And before you guys go there, okay, understand, I refer to people as male or female. You don't like it, I can get over it. There, done. Problem solved, I got over it. Okay, whether you're male or female, doesn't matter. Find one that has what you consider a decent look on things. Somewhere in between 30 and 40 years of age. Put them in office and see how fast it changes. Okay, you want to put somebody in charge of, and these guys, I will back, the concept of those of you that have served. I will back you guys to the hilt and say, hey, hats off to you for stepping up, for stepping up to the plate and protecting the people in your family, your community, your country. Thanks so very much for your service. Find somebody that has been there. Now, quite often, these will be seniors, people that have walked the field, that have walked the minefields, that have been in head-on conflict. Okay, this idea of putting somebody in charge of Veterans Affairs that wasn't even chewing on a baby bottle when the wars were going on may not be your best option. Think about who you're electing, who you're putting into places of power. Okay, and let me ask you this. When we are talking about the ritual side of things, just a thought. Who is the best person? And I don't mean by name. I mean by type. And I do have an answer. I'll give it to you in a little bit. But what is the best qualifier? The qualifier of the best person to put into any position in power. Okay, whether we are talking country, community, civil, whether we're talking about a corporation, what is the qualification that is absolutely imperative to get the best person sitting in the control seat? Anybody got any idea? And I'll give you a hint. It's the same quality in every one of them, including the religions, the covens, the temples, any of the pagan religions, doesn't matter. All of them have the same quality. You're looking for one quality that applies to any position of power. Does anybody know? Oddly enough, LA Moon says the one with the most experience in the area being filled. Oddly enough, much as that is a good answer and a common one, this is the one my father gave me. The one you want in a position of power is surrounded by the people that you're talking about, LA. But the one to put in a position of power is the one that has absolutely no interest in being there. They're the one you put in the power. They will surround themselves with people that have the experience to handle things they don't know, because the best leaders don't know how to do everything. But find the guy on site that you've got access to that doesn't want to be there. That's the one you put in power, because that's the one that won't hang on to it all. That's the one that won't railroad everybody into making them feel better. Now, and no, that was not a bid for anything. I'll tell you this. I told you guys all a long time ago, the last thing I want to do is sit on a pedestal. Okay, not a prayer. And no, like somebody asked me one day, why don't you run for prime minister in Canada? I looked at him and went, I don't lie well enough. I got no interest in lying to people. Okay, but Dad always held, you find the person that doesn't want the position the most, put them there. Now, here's the other thing. You're looking to solve a problem. And of course, the normal ritual is find, as you pointed out, LA, find the one with the most experience, which is why you usually end up with people in the 60s and 70s getting dumped into these places. But you want a job done fast, like done quickly, done efficiently, on staff, of the staff that are qualified to do the job. Who's the one you put in the position, the lead position, and make it happen? Okay. And I will tell you, this is that next level down. Okay. There is one type of person across the board. If you want a job done and done quickly and efficiently, there's one qualifier that fits everybody that you look for a leadership position there. Okay. Now, any idea who you would put in there? to handle a project that you've got a tight deadline for. Okay. And no matter how complicated the problem is, ritual says, again, find the one with the most experience. Find the one that shows leadership qualities. Sad to say, most people make the same mistake. He's got leadership qualities because he's a flaming bully. Okay. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't respond well to bullies. But, and again, I'm going to give you a couple minutes here to think about it. But there's one quality for anybody you want leading a project where you got a tight deadline. You know, the ironic part of it is what we do on a day-to-day basis, what ritual you follow, whether that ritual is, I'm going to sit down and, I'm going to get up in the morning, I'm going to say my morning prayers, because that's what makes me feel better. Okay, I've started doing something myself first thing in the morning. I'll get up, I'll turn YouTube on, and I've got a ritual, I've got a collection of songs literally on my play stream that says adrenal. They're all high paced, but the reason for it is they get the blood moving. But when you look at who to put in charge of a time sensitive project, who's the person you put in place, given that they've got the qualifications, and oddly enough, they do have to have the work ethic. Okay, make sure they've got the qualification and can actually see the job. 2, they've got the work ethic to do it. But take those 2 qualities. What's the deciding factor to separate those 2 and get your best person sitting there? Okay. And yes, I'm going to give you the answer right away here. The best person, in my experience, you find the laziest person on staff that can do the job and tell them that's their job. Okay. The reason you find the laziest person available is they're the one that's going to go out of their way to get the job done as quickly as they can. Granted, their motivation is usually so they can sit down on the backside and do nothing. But if the job is done, there's no real problem with it. Kenny Rogers wrote a song, The Gambler. And the gist of the song was this. You never, while you're sitting at the table, while you're working, don't count the dollars. There'll be lots of time to count them after the work is done. But the rituals we are being taught is get up, stare at a depressing idiot box telling you how bad the world is and how it's getting worse and how we're all going to die inside the next year. Again. Okay. Now, I will admit, given my track record, I die about once every 6 years. It gets a little redundant. It's inconvenient. But we're told, get up, get depressed, sit on your backside, take a pill, and use an electronic device to make yourself healthy. Let me ask you this. Is that method working? Okay. Are you, number one, if you're not getting up and sitting on your tail feathers, great. Don't take it on. But look at society. Joe goes, I stopped watching reality talk shows during the day and the local news, just the weather on YouTube. Weather Tracker Plus. Yeah, see, my idea, and that's great there, Joe. My idea where it comes to weather is I look out the front window, figure out which way the wind's blowing, and about 3 or 4 hours down the road, that's what I got coming in. But the weather, the weather report is great because as one weatherman put it, he goes, I'm technically a consultant, but I've got the only consultancy job in the world where I can be wrong 100% of the time and still have a job. But, what I found with reality talk shows is this. Most of the reality talk shows from the reports that came out years ago are bought and paid for, i.e., this is a real life couple that is having troubles. They're paid to start, and call it conspiracy if you will. I don't care. Do your own research. Many times they are paid a little extra because it drives the ratings up. But then you got to remember, back in Rome, they did that. Okay. They built the gladiatorial arenas. And that was because people would sit there and watch violence. Okay. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some talk shows out there and some counselors that are really good. The question is, what kind of a ritual are you teaching your family? And I will tell you, if you haven't done this already, if you've got young kids, I made this mistake. Okay. Now, I'm only telling you this so you don't make the same one. Okay. If you haven't done it already, doesn't matter how old your kids are. Okay. Hopefully, they're only in their 3 and 4 year range. Start them doing chores and cleaning things up now. Because if you don't, for whatever reason, by the time they hit 18 or 19, you're going to have a witch of a time getting them turned around. Okay, but ritual routine, and we are talking the physical, mental, emotional side of it. LA goes, I will agree with you there, LA. LA goes, most of the so-called reality shows aren't. They're paid to produce a product. The product is drama and other distractions. Absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly there. Okay. And, from that standpoint, for those of you that have an interest in acting, ignore people that tell you can't make a living at it. Okay. I know I haven't figured out how to make a living really at doing what I'm doing. Okay. At the marketing side of it. I'm working on it. Okay. And no, that is not a plea of any kind. It's just a statement of reality. Okay. But I'm not about to sugarcoat it anymore. The reality of it is, you desire your finances to take a turn for the better, spend less than you're making. Okay. It's that easy. Okay. You desire to drop weight. Don't put as many calories into your body as what you're expending. You'll drop weight. It is fine now. There are some of you that have a medical hiccup. Okay, adrenal problems, thyroid problems. Maybe your digestive tract doesn't work right. Or maybe, like my parents always joked about, I think. When I was growing up, they worried I had a tapeworm. Okay, because I can eat so much, it was insane. Now I don't eat as much. But what we have to realize is whatever ritual you're doing, okay, that's what you're drawing to you. If your ritual is like mine was, I don't like to cook, so I'm going to go out to a restaurant every day for dinner, for at least one meal. I spent literally thousands of dollars. Let me see here. Just a curiosity thing. We go an average 350 times 48. Over a 4-year span, I spent an average, divide that by 4, of $4,200 a month, or a year rather, in restaurants for 4 years running, meaning $16,800 on just myself. But the reason I did that, and this is something you guys may relate to, if you're not happy in your life, the odds are you're going to spend more money trying to convince yourself you are happy than you ever will if you're truly happy. This is also why so many bullies emotionally and physically beat up on people. It's because it makes them, by comparison, feel better. Okay. The rituals were taught with the amount of garbage being put out on the web. And by the way, that's being put out by guess who? Not the major media. That's being done by JP P public. Okay. And whether you like it or not, think about it this way. Whenever you look at something, how much negative do you take in or do you repost as compared to the positive? I'm telling you, and I've told you this before, and I do it myself. This is why I say, when I talk about a tool, if it applies to me, I'm using it. Okay? So, if you read, listen to, take in anything negative, make sure you set yourself up to take in twice as much positive. This will help keep things running. Now, being somebody, in my case, that can literally see the positive, the negative, and the neutral all at the same time, okay, I have a bit of a hiccup on that, especially since I pick it up off of you guys as well. But this is why I say, when I look at this, I was told years ago, start a church. I'm like, well, number one, modern religion has literally made that impossible. Okay. But starting a stream that is constantly telling people you gotta look at the positive side of things. Absolutely, I would love you guys to spread word and draw more people here, because we're not going to change this world by staying hidden. And this is why, there are people that come in here, and like I said in this chat room, this is a microcosm, okay? And what we gotta get in the habit of doing, and this is absolutely an invite to you guys, okay, to every one of you that's in the chat room, because Storm is doing a bang-up job making certain we don't get problem children in here. And once in a while, I see the group respond. So I'm asking you guys all, you see somebody that comes in and says, and starts creating a problem, okay, absolutely point it out to them. It's not called, when you're in the chat room protecting the people in here, it's not called being a troll, okay, it's called support. It's a weird thing. If you reach out to support somebody, quite often you may get called all sorts of things. I know in restaurants I've stepped in on family arguments just because they were wrong. Now, technically you can say, well, it's that family, it's none of your business. Well, true, maybe. But think of it this way. If nobody says anything, like I looked at one post on Facebook. I looked at one post, and these people said, and I'm paraphrasing, but they went, if you're a true light worker, you should never tell somebody they're wrong. You should respect their opinion. I can respect your opinion, you can respect mine. It doesn't mean you're right. Okay. Now I will tell you, just to put this in physically blatant pattern. Okay. The Flat Earth Society will tell you, and they'll give you all the definitions and all the reasons in the world. The Earth is flat because. Okay. And I'll tell you right now, I've been there. I've seen it. You don't have to believe me on that one. Okay. But I will also tell you that the Earth is not technically, well, never mind technically, the Earth is also not round. Okay. But when you're looking at it from Earth, any planet is going to appear round. On any other planet, my own son looks at me one day and he goes, Dad, everybody admits, they all agree, every other planet in the solar system is round. Why do people think there's a rectangular one out there or a square one out there? Okay, now, your opinion cannot be wrong. Absolutely, it cannot. But the facts you're working with, the information you've got, may be incomplete. You may be having problems with conclusions because you don't have all the data. Okay, now, if you look at the practicality of it, when you take a look at it, ritual says, we're supposed to believe this. And some people go, no, the earth is flat. Okay, now get this. The ritual 200 years ago was slavery was absolutely acceptable. And in many parts of the world today, it is still acceptable. Okay, ritual said, you want extra workers, so you don't have to pay them as much. Turn around and buy them. Today we've got slavery. We call it the wage slave, meaning you have to go to work and find a job and then try and survive on it. Okay, now that's great, but here's the kicker to it. What I found out while I was poking around a while ago is that many of the slaves that were brought over after they got released turned around and bought slaves themselves. Now, slavery in my eyes is simple. Okay, it's just plain wrong. Jimmy, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I don't know if I've seen you in here before, but welcome aboard. No, my whole idea with this whole stream is this. If you guys can walk away from the stream when I'm done and feel a little better about your life, okay, then frankly, I've done my job right. And yes, I have my off days. Like I said, 2 days ago, my throat just seized. On the plus side, my lungs didn't quit, although I've had that happen. And again, guys, if you've got a question in any field, absolutely drop it into the chat room. The reason I ask you to put it in all caps is so I can frankly find it. Okay, now, just to let you know, with Races of the World, I just got to take a quick peek just to make sure. Where is it? There we are. I am currently working on page 83, meaning I was working on page 70 yesterday when I started. I'm now on page 83 of finishing off the expansion out of 94 pages. Okay, so much as I may not get it done by the end of August, simply because we've got a little more work to do with it. But August 13th, I'm taking off for a couple of weeks. Okay, and then you guys get the pleasure of not having to listen to me drone on. But ritual is what drives this world. Okay, you think about it. Dolly Parton, decades back, came up with a brilliant song called 9 to 5. Okay, look it up on the internet. Yes, I'm country, as Barbara Mandrell used to put it, as she wrote. I was country when country wasn't cool. Okay, but songs do have a habit of impacting, of showing you the way the world's working. The rituals you're following right now, whether they are what you do first thing in the morning, some of them are a bad idea. I know people that the first thing they do when they get up in the morning is not make coffee. Okay, they grab themselves a beer. Okay, I'm telling you, here's the thing with alcohol. Okay, and bearing in mind, if you're an alcoholic, I got nothing against you. If you're an alcoholic that is beating up on your other half, I have a problem with the action. Now, I was an alcoholic, but here's the unwritten truth about that I've seen about alcohol. Okay, it knocks out your trained and learned inhibitors. So as a coping mechanism, it bites. Okay, because it knocks out your ability to cope. Okay, drugs do a very similar thing. And this is why I say, when you've got that kind of a hiccup and you're ready to quit, okay, there are organizations out there that can help. They're very well seated. They're on the right path. And those two organizations would be Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. Now, I've got my problems with their methods, but that's okay. They work. Okay. Now, the saying that goes hand in hand with that is once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. I say that's wrong. because I was an alcoholic. Okay. I see it as you have either alcoholics or healed alcoholics. I can sit down and have a drink if I choose to, or leave it alone, which is why instead of a 26er a night now, I can take a decade to clear a 26er if I've got help. Okay. I know there's lots of you out there that would love to help, but that's beside the point. Okay. One of the things we have to remember is find a ritual, create a ritual of your own. Okay. That is working for you. Okay. Now we're going to go sideways a bit here. And we have these funny little things called tarot. And I should do something as I shut that down and then forgot to get rid of it. What do we got here? Now I'm hoping, Jimmy has made a comment here, Jimmy Gonzalez. And I'm going to ask somebody for clarity because I don't recognize it. And like I said, I do not know everything. Right? And that is hands yellow, heart red. Okay. To me, that just paints a really bad picture. I don't mind the red heart. It's the yellow hands that always concerns me. But I honestly don't know what it refers to. I'm betting it has something rational to it. Okay. And if somebody would be kind enough to explain that, that would be really appreciated. Now, when we look at these things, tarot, okay, you got to remember, first and foremost, my understanding of tarot, number one, was it was originally designed to spread Christianity. Number two, okay, is it is a ritual. People have a definitive pattern. Oh, okay. Hell, and thanks so much, LA. This is what I get for not being for being a recluse. I had to ask what was it? GTS1 meant. Okay. I'm not exactly the most socially adept individual. But most people, when they're working with tarot, okay, they have a set pattern, a set ritual to lay things out in order to make sense of it. Okay. And the nice part about it is there's no difference between using these, unless you talk to certain people, and turning around and reading this. Okay. People will take a Bible, and if they know the Bible well, they'll go through, they'll flip through and go, here's a passage that applies. Okay. Most of the passages in here can be read in multiple ways. But, like I said, my father was absolutely adamant. He used to teach Sunday school and, for that matter, church. Okay. I myself, in case I haven't said this before, think I have, I myself am a registered minister with the Universal Life Church based out of California. Okay. So, when I talk about whether or not I believe in God, you can bet your bottom dollar I do. Okay. But whatever your pattern, whatever your ritual, your routine, find something that leaves you feeling better without hurting anybody else. Okay. This is the thing that so many people seem to be missing. Oh, yeah. Jimmy goes, I quit drinking years ago because of my head injury. Doc said to stop it or I'll develop it soon. The funny part about it there, Jimmy, is I quit drinking because the total stranger I went in to drag out, right, to drag out of the bar or to guide her out of the bar, she was 100% total stranger. So I did exactly the dumbest and best thing at the same time. I went from no alcohol and no drugs to doing a 26er a night and 6 lines. But the day she walked out of the bar, I quit drinking and drugs cold turkey. You know, my son drinks Monster drinks. And again, everything in moderation. A Monster drink for me is great. Drink a Monster drink, 15 minutes after I'm finished, I'm out like a light. You know, they work great for a tranquilizer. Did I miss anything here? Nope. You know, the funny part about it is, I was looking at it for the longest time. I kept going, okay, what am I actually accomplishing here? And every time I've talked about pulling the plug, okay, I've been told, no, what you're doing is helping. And then I came to the conclusion about a month ago now, I think, that, I can come on here, basically let my mouth run and work things out in my head because I'm looking at this world going, you're running down the wrong path. I know this because I've seen it multiple times. Now, you've read your history books, or you studied history. I didn't study any of it. Okay, I remember past lives. And you can call that what you will, but I keep getting corroboration from multiple people. I was told one day, I actually was talking to my older brother one day. I said, look, I don't require to know whether or not I'm nuts. I don't need to know if this stuff makes sense or if it's true. What I require is for you to take a look at it, because he thought pure logic. I said, what I am asking is for you to look at all the evidence. Just take it as it's real, at least in my eyes, and then tell me what to do with it. So I laid the whole thing out for 3 hours. Okay. At the end of it, I says, okay, what do you got? He says, well, you're talking about past life memories. He says, in today's world, you're not getting physical proof. So you have to rely on circumstantial evidence. And he goes, with the circumstantial evidence you've got enough that you can convict somebody of murdering somebody else, where the victim died 100 years before the accused was born. Now, that said, take a look at the evidence around you, the way your world's going. Okay, are you happy with the path that you're on? Are you happy with the spiritual guide that you're following, that you're listening to? And maybe it's just a routine of get up in the morning, turn on the idiot box. That was coined in 1956, not my doing. Okay. You've got the TV, which was termed the idiot box. And I will tell you, the second it was developed, people started losing their motivation. Now we have the idiot box. We've got the, we've got the mental moron computer, and we've got the pocket moron, your cell phone and your little Game Boys and all that sort of thing. Of course, if you haven't heard of a Game Boy, you're not old enough. Matter of fact, if you haven't heard of a Game Boy, you may not be old enough to drink. Okay, but the reality of it is this. When you take a look at what you're doing, are you ending your day feeling like you got something accomplished, like you are in better shape than you were at the beginning of the day? Do you feel like you've made a contribution to make this world a better place, or to make your world or the community around you a better place than it was when you got up in the morning? If the answer is no, it's time to start reassessing, in my opinion. Yeah, well, that's just that. I mean, I drink coffee day and night. Although, at least I was told with the strength of coffee or the weakness of it, that there's not a big problem. I'm only hydrating. This, by the way, is water. But I will tell you, the more people we can get subscribed to this channel, because I'm not going back to talking about all the bad things in the world. There's a lot of them. But if you want to get depressed, if you want to find another way to get disappointed in people, there's lots of newspapers, radio shows, lots of mainstream media you can turn to, okay, to get depressed, to find things to make you look at the world and go, I don't want to be here. I wake up in the morning, I go, I don't want to be here, but I've got a job to do, okay? And in all fairness, my job and my commitment started 5 billion years ago, roughly, on Earth. Okay, I may be off on the time frame. Okay, but quite frankly, I got here when the Earth, when Esau was created, when she first came to life. Actually, in all fairness, I got here before she came to life. But you don't have to believe that. By the way, if you haven't heard it before, you call her Mother Earth, you call her Earth, you call her Gaia. Okay, I call her Esau because that's what she told me her name was. Okay, when I first got here, that's what she told me her name was. And what we have to realize is if you're not taking care of your little part of the world, okay, here's the neat thing. So many people, they go, I'm Christian or I'm Buddhist or I'm Sikh or whatever. And God or Buddha or whoever are going to come down and straighten this out. It's they're going to do the job. Let me ask you this. For those of you that want to and that turn your attention there, and especially those that say the elites are the ones that are causing my problems, or the church is causing my problem. Let me ask you this. Who puts your shoes on in the morning? Now, yeah, and Philip, I agree with you. That's where I stand at this point. I mean, I am Christian in as much as I believe in Christ, I believe in God. Okay, Phil's just going, I'm agnostic, which really, from my understanding, boils down to doesn't believe in the organized religions. Matter of fact, just because I'm nosy, I'm just going to do something here. Probably shouldn't, but what the heck. There we go. Agnostic. A person who believes that nothing is known or can be known of the existence or nature of God or of anything beyond material phenomenon. A person who claims neither faith nor disbelief in God. Oh, okay, I stand corrected there. And this is why I look things up. Okay, now, like I said, I use the term Christian just because of the way I was brought up. I don't believe in the teachings of what's in the Bible or in any other text for that matter. Okay, but that does not make me better than you. And Jimmy, it certainly does not make you. In Jimmy and Philip, it definitely does not make you less important than anybody else. This is what I mean by this stream, this chat room is a safe place for everybody. And yes, I've seen people come in and try and push one religion. And thankfully, Storm's right on top of that. The moment somebody comes in and starts saying, this religion is better, Storm's got down to a fine art. It's like, this religion is better. And before the echo dies, he's gone. Because to my way of thinking, no, to my way of thinking, whether you believe or don't believe doesn't matter. Whether you treat people decently, that's the matter. Phil goes, I'm lacking in gnosis. I gotta check because I'm nosy. Oh, there we go. Here we are. Gnosis often refers to knowledge based on personal experience or perception. In religious context, gnosis myth is mystical or esoteric knowledge based on direct participation with the divine. Well, I guess that means I don't. You guys are throwing some really bizarre words out, which I'm not complaining about, really. Most people do. You know, Joe's just going, I used to have a PS4. We've still got a PS5 here. What was that word? A personist. Oh, business. Oh, okay. Now, what, pray tell, is that? Well, this explains a whole lot. Where was it there? Jimmy, and thank you so much for that. And I like learning new things. So I looked up what a personist is. And a personist believes that rights are conferred to the extent that a creature is a person. Absolutely 100% agree. Of course, I extend that to the plants as well. Oh, there we go. Ellie Moon is just adding, I think that was supposed to say reasonism is an ethical philosophy of personhood as typified by the thought of the utilitarian philosopher Peter Singer. The funny thing is, this is the whole issue. Whatever religion you're in, okay, whatever path you follow. Oh, there we go. Philip goes, my favorite unusual word is flibbertigibbet. I heard someone called this in a friendly debate I watched from the 60s. Yeah, they used to have some really neat little words. My brother used to call it kibitzing when you take a word and just pull it out of place. When you take it out of context, as it were. Like he said, it was splitting hairs. The thing is, we all develop habits, we all develop rituals. If they're beneficial, if they're not hurting people, do what you will. Absolutely, do what you will with it. But stick to the karmic laws. Okay. And that, like I said, means be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. Okay. You follow those, you'll find your world works a whole lot better. I know because mine does. Okay. Now, this is completely off topic. I mentioned that I do work with accelerated healing. I had an infection in my finger the other day that just setting it on the floor was causing pain, and a lot of it. Okay. I focused my attention on getting rid of it. Still a little tender, but it is now back. The swelling's gone back down, and it's clearing out. Philip goes, it was a debate with William F. Buckley. And I forget who called him an antediluvian and flibbertigibbet. That right there, as the little icons, emojis say, that would have had me laugh too. Of course, I have no idea what it is, in all fairness. But just because I'm nosy, take that and paste that there. And antediluvian, or belonging to the time before the biblical flood. Oh, okay. And yes, I am absolutely showing the fact that I don't know everything. I never have. Okay. As a matter of fact, I've always known just enough to know I don't know enough. Oh, a flibbertigibbet is a frivolous, flighty, or excessively talkative person. Okay, talk about going down an interesting pathway. Okay, but it's one thing I found out. Okay, I like knowledge. And what I see a lot of the time, I don't do a lot of research. Obviously, the dictionary works well. Okay, because it gives me a reference point. But what we have to realize is if we go back to a time when communication was the key, when honor was actually, honor and respect were the drug of choice. Okay, that I would love to see those come back. And unfortunately, I'm not seeing a lot of it. I mean, I will tell you this. In this stream, we have a phenomenal bunch of people in here. Okay. Matter of fact, and I don't have it. I think we're at 635 when I checked today. So it's at that fluctuating point again. But what we have to realize is that we can, as a society, turn this world around by simply reaching out and talking to each other. And I definitely, I absolutely encourage you to do so. Now, like I mentioned earlier, it's time to put the negative past to rest. If you had a falling out with a family member or a friend, okay, absolutely put the negative past to rest. There are some friendships that will not come back together. Okay, but the key is to really take a look in the mirror. Oh, thank you so much there, Philip. I appreciate it. I don't actually keep a lot of tabs on it during the show right now, so they've cut back a lot on the way I'm doing things. But I absolutely appreciate that. I'm happy to see 10 in chat. And I'd love to see that grow into the thousands. Not because I desire to be on the front page or anything. I'm just, I'm looking at the world going, I can keep hiding and hoping people will get it. But the reality is people aren't. Okay, this is why when it comes to the books I'm working on, I've literally got them down to a point of going, I'm doing a little bit of work on a number of them and getting them out of the way. Now, let me see. I've read these already, but see, this one, I'm about 3/4 of the way through it now. A little bit on the dry reading side. It's an encyclopedia. But I've got after this one, I got another nine volumes to read. Then the book my brother wrote, I've gone about 80% of the way through it. Okay. And of course, the Bible right now, I am about 1/3 of the way through it. And I got a whole list of books to pick up after I get done those ones. So I'll be reading and writing for the next several years if I don't up and die. Or if I don't end up on the street. And yeah, so, finances are not the be-all and end-all. But unlike one young lass in the States I was listening to that went, I don't believe in money. You don't have to believe in it. Everybody else does, though, so you might want to work with the possibility. So I mean, from my standpoint, it's a pretty simple issue. I'm looking at a way to make things work. And absolutely, from my standpoint, I sheared off all my marketing. So this is the only place I do marketing aside from Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Not necessarily the best places, but they're the only ones I got. Okay. And of course, at the top of this stream, you'll find Buy Me a Coffee. So it is a bit of a pain in the neck. But I'm working on living with it. Joseph, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I mean, a comment like that, a bite of the dog to bit you. That's how I managed to avoid hangovers. That's the fact I didn't get them. But I did find the easiest way for me to avoid a hangover is I just never sobered up. It was great. I could work. I could do whatever I pleased. Not a problem. But it is time to look at your behavior, and everybody to look at your behavior. Ask yourself, is what you're doing producing a positive interaction with other people? The old saying back in the 60s that I grew up with was, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything. Okay. And the reality is, the reality is this. I see a lot of people that the first words out of their mouth is an insult, okay, or a derogatory or demeaning comment, okay. And I encourage you and the people that are doing that to absolutely button your lip, okay, bite your tongue, whatever you gotta do, okay. The amount of garbage that gets spewed out, I figure there's more than enough coming out through the media, and I do mean the social media and mainstream, TV, all of that, okay. And you want to see dissidents being promoted. Absolutely, there's a real easy one. Listen to the political gibberish. Again, I call it gibberish because of one little detail. Now, it's just my personal opinion. I will tell you, when you look at the people you've got available to vote for, okay, turn around, find one between 30 and 40 years old. From what I gather, they got to be 35 to run for president. Find somebody that has an idea that you agree with and back them. Okay, not just an idea, but a moral backing. Okay, yes, you need somebody that knows how to, that knows how to make decisions, that does take people. And again, the funny part about it is, and I've seen it done in the past, okay, oddly enough, I will still tell you the best person to put into a president seat or a prime minister seat or whatever it is the one that doesn't want to be there. And rest assured, that is not a hint. I've got no interest in being in the spotlight on the political field because I frankly don't lie well. Okay, somebody asks me what I think of them, I'll tell you. It may not be polite. I'll do my best. I don't like swearing. Okay, but my brother, IQ tested in excess of 180, taught me all kinds of ways of insulting people without swearing. And I only know of one company in the world that swearing will get you a promotion, from what I gather. Now, I've never been there, but there's a restaurant somewhere in the mid-eastern states that touts itself as being the rudest restaurant in the world. And the waiters and waitresses are absolutely taught to be disrespectful to the customers. Absolutely they're taught to be argumentative. Why anyone would go there, I have no idea, but apparently they're wall-to-wall people. Joe goes, speaking of green journals, I don't have access to a typewriter, so what can I do? I'm trying to think of ideas. The reality is, Joe, I still do most of my writing, first of all, with pen and paper. Then I put it onto a computer. And you might desire to look into that. You don't require a state-of-the-art computer. You can pick up a small computer with a portable key and with an extended keyboard. Okay. Of course, that only works if you can type. Yeah, Philip goes, people used to write in Donald Duck for political offices to protest the choices given. Yeah, they used to do that. I mean, the Muppets was another one where people paid to get on air. Okay. And, the funny part about it is that we're looking at a real neat situation. If you hide things in plain sight, many people will take it. Well, I'm telling you, the biggest mistake most people make. Thank you so much, LA. We are down to 30 minutes. The biggest thing I look at is this. Okay, when I get up in the morning, I pay attention to who's in the mirror now. I don't like what I'm looking at yet, but I gotta get off my butt and do a little bit more in the way of exercise. I know this, okay, but I'm not going to look at somebody that is overweight and go, oh, you're a bad person because you're overweight. Frankly, you may have a medical problem. Maybe you've just got a massive self-esteem problem. Many people, if it's not medically induced, a lot of overweight is bad habit or is a self-defense mechanism. And unfortunately, many people that are badly abused, verbally, mentally, emotionally, or sexually, okay, many people that get badly abused turn to overeating or alcoholism or drug addiction as a way to hide from it. It's not called a coping mechanism. It's literally called a distraction. Now, I'm not here to distract you. Okay. That's, honestly, if I was here to distract you, I might be able to, but I don't lie well, so I don't know how I'd manage that. Okay, but the big thing here for me is I'm just looking at what I'm seeing in the world and going, we've got to work together to change this. Okay, and the quickest way of doing that is to turn around and literally decide, literally turn around and look at what you're doing. Are you making somebody feel better or are you making them feel worse? That's the real kicker to it. So many friendships I've seen fall apart, and I've let a number of them go because, here's the kicker with friendship. Okay, I reached out to a lot of people that their friendship meant a lot to me. I haven't heard back from them in months. I'm not writing them out of the equation. I'm just not bothering to reach out anymore. Okay, and that's why I say, if you do desire to make contact, there's no problem. I do my best to respond. I'm not great at it. Okay, I'm finally getting into a routine where things are being wrapped off properly. This is why September's newsletter is already coming together. The Races of the World is being cleaned off literally on a stable basis. Now, I think 84, I've only got 10 more pages to do. I should probably get them done by the end of tonight. Okay, I'm not entirely certain, but that's the idea. But it literally boils down to get a routine that produces results. Now, if you're having trouble getting a routine up and running, that's where this comes in. This funny little book here, Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams, available at the link up above. But that's the backbone of how I did it. Okay. And yes, I am in the process of making absolutely certain that I turn around and get people, and give people tools that if they apply to me, I'm using them. Okay. Now I will tell you, I will talk about when I'm dealing with consulting work. I will absolutely talk about what people are going through. Most of what you've been through, in all fairness, okay, most of what you've gone through, I've been through. The one thing I haven't been through this year is anything that requires a specific female body to experience. Yeah. But I appreciate that there, Phil. Phil turns around and goes, David Susskind, was the one that called William F. Buckley an antediluvian flibbertigibbet on his show. You know, fun dialogue to watch. And like he said, I had to dig a bit. I tell you, I have no idea how you'd find that out. Oh, there we go. And this is what I like about this chat room. Okay, somebody pops a problem into the chat room, and somebody in the chat room is very apt to step up and say, "Here's the solution." Okay, so I mean, we've got a lot of potential for growth here, and now it's time to really look at it and go, where do we go from here? Well, for me, it's easy. Okay. I'm not sure what I'm doing tonight. I know I'm going to go and grab dinner, but it's already prepped. Okay, I've probably eaten a little too much anyway. Oh, I appreciate that there, Joseph. Joseph is just adding in that Robert Skinner, that first earned him a living was the one he wrote when he was breaking the alcohol addiction. His fictions were a fiction work, like Apache Autumn came after his break. And that's the whole kicker. I've got 7 books in print right now. Uh-oh. So, I got to ask that, Philip. You know, Philip has just written in, he goes, recognize his face on a thumbnail. You know, I remember the face of David Susskind, but not his name. So can I have a problem remembering my own name? As it turns out, you know, I found out the hard way where it comes to names. You know, I go by R. Keith because my first name died at 5 years old. And apparently I have a little bit of a problem with it. Okay, not with businesses that use it, because let's face it, computers don't like middle names, in case you didn't know. But what we got to look at is I am now striving to find a way to get word out. And of course, the odd part is I don't start putting an ad out on a regular basis. People aren't going to know about it. And the best books in the world are not going to be found if you don't let people know. And given that I've shut down Yellow Pages, 411, I think I'm still on, but I think it'll be dying soon. I quit advertising on Google, right? Because they weren't producing anything and they were costing me money. So I quit. You know, Buy Me a Coffee has produced results. So I will use them. And again, it boils down to this. I'm heading for the top. That's just the way that is. I'm not there yet. But I absolutely intend on taking everybody with me that I can. Or more to the point, that's willing to go. You know, one of the biggest things that we got to realize, which reminds me, I will have to dig that out. Where is that? Right there. I wonder if that's easy to get. Just because my mind is working that way. No. That is what it is. Yeah, of course, that's going to be a pain in the neck. I just something dawned on me here. And that ain't going to happen until after the show. I get an idea in my head and all of a sudden I want to go and deal with it. Well, I can't do that right now. You know, the neat part about it, when you look at the way this world is, you can continue. Absolutely, it's up to you. Continue turning on the news and find out how many people are trying to kill each other, how many people are ripping off who. I'll tell you right now, across the board, it's a staggering amount. Okay, but there are way more people being nice to each other than there are being creeps. Okay. And I encourage you to focus on the ones that are being nice. You see somebody go, oh, so-and-so was shot. Immediately go looking to see who was born. Okay. Clearly, there are more people being born than are being shot, even including all the wars, because we've got a population rise. Okay. I asked somebody one day, I said, I don't get it. People keep talking about war being a good way to control population. I'm like, how is that possible? We've got a population rise. The guy I asked, he looks at me and goes, well, it's because people are better at crawling into bed with each other than they are at shooting each other. And I really couldn't argue with his perspective. But I will tell you, it's absolutely critical that you start focusing on the things that are going well in your life, not the things that are going sour. There is so much miscommunication going on that it's time to put it to rest. Okay, if you don't understand something, ask. Okay, I mean, I know I have a bad habit of taking things way too literally, and thereby I will, in a real accidental fashion, end up taking things the wrong way. Okay, I know this, but at the same time, I do my best to understand it. Not perfect, but like Joe Stewart puts it, I'm not perfect, but I am doing my best. Okay, and I am improving on it, or at least I think so. I remember one guy, he told me I was awfully rude. My immediate reaction to him was, dang it, I thought I was getting good at it. But apparently I'm not that good at being rude either. One of the things that we have to look at. Oh, okay. That's okay. I don't track it on day to day. I mean, the reality is it fluctuates. It's like my weight. My weight climbs up by a couple of pounds and drops by a couple of pounds. I'm still trying to solidly break the 190. But it is one of these things that it fluctuates. It's like the weather. You don't like it, wait 20 minutes. It'll be different. Okay. But this world, we have an option. We can focus on the negative, on trying to prove that we are better than the next person, or for that matter, trying to prove you're not as good as the next person. And I'll tell you, you can get into a real depressive state if you focus on what you cannot do. Okay, I always like the idea of, I cannot do that yet. Okay, now I'm not about to waste any more time trying to figure computers out. I just came to the point of 40 years of fighting to make them work right. I'm not going there. I am, however, going to track down an abacus and figure out how to use it again. But finding an actual abacus is a bit of a problem. This is just the reality behind life. Focus on what you're good at. Okay, but understand the brightest person in the world is no less valuable than the most dense one. Okay, they really aren't. And this is why when I got into well, that's actually not a bad idea, Joseph. Joseph goes, 3D print one. That's not a bad idea, but it requires figuring out a 3D printer. And that's a bit of a hiccup because ultimately they're an advanced computer. But it is a good idea. I can always turn to somebody and get somebody to make one. But modern tech and I have come to an understanding. I use what I have to. This is about as technologically advanced as I bother with. I mean, I use the computer. I use the computer, absolutely. Right. But I am still much more comfortable with a tabletop calculator, a tabletop calendar. Where are we? See, so many people put all their notes and all their appointments in a computer. I still use that. Now, here's the neat thing. There's a law that says no texting while driving. Last summer, I watched somebody that could not have been nailed down for driving, for texting and driving. They took an old sheet of an old map, an old paper map. They put it up over their front window, and every now and again they pulled the map down to look while they were driving in heavy city traffic. I mean, I just about had a coronary because I looked at that and went, well, they're not texting. I thought it was kind of entertaining. One thing I do know for an absolute certainty is we take a look at the way the world is. You get a choice. Are you going to let past problems between you and other people continue to make a problem? Or is it possibly worth it to put the effort into reconnecting? Okay, I've let a number of friendships go that I thought meant a lot. As it turned out, they really didn't. Okay, not to the other person. So, am I going to reach out again and try and reconnect? No, but I didn't close the door. I just went, if they reach out, I'll respond. I'm just not wasting any more time with it. And thank you there, LA. We are down to the 15 minutes. The rituals that we follow, the rituals, the routines, the habits that you develop to run your life, that's what's going to make you successful or not. Okay. And I covered this a little while ago. Oh, sheep, today is Tuesday. That means, okay, I gotta pull this up. Forgot all about this thing. There we are. Okay, scroll all the way back up to the top. Nope, down to the bottom. Just calling up my schedule here. Okay, next week. Okay, we're down under the 5-minute mark. Next week. No, not down under the 5. We're down under the 15, but that's okay. Next week, starting on Friday, we're going back to the multiracial species. We will be looking into the Elfid and the Dwarvish race. I had three others written down that I'm going to go through. We're going to take a look at the end. We're going back to the alien side of this web. Okay, because like I said, in this stream, we look at spirituality, alien, and self-help. So next week, Friday to Tuesday, we're looking at the alien side again. Okay, and that said, we will be dealing with Elfid and Dwarfish. Okay, with that in mind, okay, absolutely, if you've got a race that you're aware of, absolutely, put it on paper. Not put it on paper, put it in the chat room, put it into it, send me an email, or text me, or answer in the comments below. Because the next couple of days, I'm going to be choosing what ones we're looking at next week. Okay. And again, if you've got questions, okay, absolutely bring them with you. I will do my best to answer them. Okay. I'll also be able to tell you at that point how far along we've come and where we're sitting with Races of the World's second printing. It is coming down to the wire. I've got 10 pages left to finish expanding, and then we go through final edit and we're good to go. Okay, we're past the third on final edit, having gone through the first chunks of them, but more information, more technologies, more technologies explained. I think there's a little more in the way of terminology, but all of them have pictures. And then I get to start on other things. But the one thing I really strongly encourage you to do, like I said, I returned to this world for one primary purpose, to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. And to that end, I'm absolutely asking you, let your friends know we're here. Okay, let's make this one of the most active chat rooms in the world. Yeah, I'm a little bit overstated on occasion. Absolutely. But to those of you that think I'm overreacting to the danger that I see coming, okay, maybe I am. But like I saw put on a bumper sticker one day, those of you that don't that do not believe in a God, better pray you're right. Well, that applies to those of you that don't believe society's in trouble. Better pray you're right. Because what I'm seeing, and I saw it back in Rome, I saw what led up to it in the, how religion led up to the Black Plague, to the Black Death. I saw it happen. I lived through it. Okay, this is why I'm saying, whenever you go to do something, okay, if you're going to do something, talk to somebody who's done it successfully. You don't have to believe that I remember my past lives. You really don't. Okay, but if you believe it's possible, I can absolutely look at the way that you can tap into it. Okay, and that is when I come to think of it, that is something I should put here while I'm thinking about it. Where was it? That one. Okay. And we go back to spiritual. 11. Just writing something down here. Okay, as it turns out, we're looking at about 2.5 months, 3 months down the road. Because we got a 2 month break or a 2 week break that's going to happen here. But I've just added onto my list of topics that will be coming up in the future. Okay, accessing past life memories. I will keep you posted on when that's going to come about. Okay, as a matter of fact, that reminds me, I should do that. But because we are going down those 3 roads all at the same time, there's no question there. Where are we? Down to the last few. But one thing I will tell you, if we start communicating, do not let old friendships die. If you've got a friendship that's viable, absolutely accept responsibility for your part. And if you're not aware of where that is, absolutely. This is one of the things I've done for decades. People have called me up to literally find out what went wrong with their relationship. And I will tell people flat out, if you're the cause, don't expect me to sugarcoat it. That's what you're going to find out. But in my experience, people seem happier to know what caused the fallout than being left in the dark. And honestly, some of you don't even know you did it. Okay. Some of you you're not even aware of it. But I've had countless people reach out to me going, look, my marriage is in trouble. What am I doing wrong? I remember one guy phoned me up. His marriage was in trouble. Right. So I asked him what he did, and he goes, well, I'm a landscaper. What was going on? He says, I'm a landscaper. He said, but, my marriage is in trouble. I said, great. What does your wife do? He goes, well, she doesn't do anything. She just stays at home and raises my 3 kids, our 3 kids. I looked at him. I never even blinked. I says, get up. I actually called him by name. But I says, trade jobs. You stay at home for a week. Talk to your boss. He'll let you do it. Send your wife to do your job. Your paycheck stays the same. But she goes and does the job. He was the only guy I ever spoke to in well over 100,000 clients that took me up on it. He went and talked to his boss and his boss says, yeah, absolutely no problem. Because the guy had said, well, my wife can't do my job. I said, man, you're a landscaper. Get her to do it. So he did. He comes back to me a week later after this was all said and done. He goes, Keith, I cannot thank you enough. He said, I swapped jobs with my wife, and it wasn't one of these reality things. Here's a whole pile of stupid things you got to do. It was just, this was day-to-day routine. He goes, I swapped jobs with my wife, Never, ever, ever again will I tell her she's not working. That her job isn't hard. Right? He says, my marriage is it's like it was at the beginning. Right? He says, I don't know how to thank you enough. I'm not subtle. Okay? If you're being a dip, I'll tell you you're being a dip. Okay? On air, I bite my tongue on it. Because I see some comments that come through and I'm going like, did you think about that at all? Okay. I used to worry about it, but like I said, when I went to do yesterday's stream, I literally told Storm in LA that I would not be shocked to drop 2/3 of the listeners like that. Okay, it wasn't something that really was a shock. I mean, I'm surprised I haven't dropped more, but quite happy about it. But with that in mind, we're under the 5 now. So I do want to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with us today. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much for listening and for adding the comments that you did. Absolutely. Without you guys, we couldn't do this at all. With that in mind, I will be back again tomorrow. But until then, take care of you. No, I won't be back tomorrow. I will be back on Friday and we're going back into multiracial aliens. Okay, alien species. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.